One of the biggest mistakes I made when setting up my school was undervaluing for my memberships. Over the years, it's cost me hundreds of thousands of pounds in lost revenue and genuinely just made my life harder. I've not been able to invest as much or as quickly into my academy, which has had an impact on my growth and what I can deliver to my students. And this is a pretty common situation for many instructors. A lot of people out there open up their schools and they just don't charge enough for their classes. As a result, they struggle. And part of it comes down to their personal beliefs, but another part of it is just not knowing how to accurately value their classes. Of course, my area is going to be different to somebody else's in the world, but that doesn't mean there's not a common way, an easy way that you can find out if you're in the right ballpark or whether you need to increase your prices or decrease your prices. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how you can go about finding out actually what you should be charging in your specific area. And a lot of this information comes down to, I learned from a guy called George Forey who runs martial arts media over in Australia. Really intelligent guy, works with a lot of instructors. It's worth checking out of his stuff if you're looking to grow your school. But from a training I did with him, I developed this calculator based on some of his ideas and a lot of my own ideas as well. And this calculator is just a very simple way you can plug in your information of your school and then you can start to figure out what to actually charge for your classes. So let's dive over to it and take a look. So this is the calculator. Okay, calculator is based on a couple of really important principles. Principle number one, that our goal is to sell a yearly membership that can be paid in different ways. Okay, that's really important. The principle number two is we're going to base it on a 48-week year. Most people think that a month has 4 weeks in it anyway. It doesn't. It has 4 and a couple of days normally. But what this allows us to do is shut our school for bank holidays without any problems. It allows us to take a break at Christmas if we need to. That is really, really important. And because you've built it into your membership plan, you have a very easy way to relay that to your students. We base our memberships on a yearly 48-week year rather than a 52-week one. So any holidays you take, anything that we have is included within that. The third principle, and this comes down to when you start selling it, that price anchoring is a very valuable tool, a very powerful tool in conversion. So price anchoring is where you set something up super high and then you offer them a lower price, which seems like a great deal. And I'm going to show you kind of how it works within this as well. The tool itself, I've added some notes to just kind of help you figure out what to do, how to go about doing it, and a few other different things. So the first one is you've got to fill out a few different forms. The forms, anything that you want, fields. Any of the fields that you want to fill out, they're in red, so it's very easy to find, and you want to just build it out for your area. So I'm going to go through this with you now and I'll talk about the different things. We're going to base it essentially on my school or my area. I'm going to do it on my area and just use some simple numbers because it's always a lot easier to do that. So the first thing to do is the average salary in your area. This is really important, right? Where you're at, that's going to give you a good indication of the disposable income that people have. So the first thing is you want to find the average salary. For Cambridge, it is around about 41,000. Okay, that's 41,000 per year. Okay. You'll see some numbers change as we go through. We'll get onto those in a second. Next thing you want to do is you want to find out like the average price for classes that are kind of similar. In my opinion, there's 3 things that you want to look at, and one which is really, really crucial. You want to look at swimming lessons, you want to look at private gymnastics clubs, and you want to look at dance clubs. And ideally, the private gymnastics clubs are the things that have their own hall, their own facilities. Okay, they're not like the government-funded ones. That's what you want to look at. Same with dance clubs. They have to have their own like hall. They're pretty analogous to jiu-jitsu or to martial arts. You have to have uniforms, you have to have an instructor, you have to have a space to be able to do it. In my area, the actual range is somewhere between, I think it's like about £14 up to £19. There are definitely some outliers on either sides. The one area you don't want to look, other academies, because they also have no idea what they're doing. So for the sake of this, I'm going to put 15 quid in. That's the average cost per class. That's what I pay if my daughter goes to one of these things. Okay, so what you'll see is you'll get a couple of different numbers prop up here. Oh, the other thing that we want to change over here, name of your school, your location, you can add that in or not, it's entirely up to you. I guess you probably know where you're located. Number of members you have, and then your average student value per month. So what are they paying for an average membership? I've included 100 quid here because it is a nice round number. And you can see pretty easily that you end up with 100 members at £100, you're getting 10 grand a month. Okay, so what that means, if we look over at this section over here, The way, this is something that I learned from George actually, is he had a guy down in Australia, I think he said he had 21 different schools. The way that he calculated his memberships was on 5% of the annual salary. Okay, he had quite a broad range, and that was the max that he could charge per membership. Like, so if he was doing an unlimited membership, that's what he could charge. Okay, so in my scenario, being in Cambridge, the 5% of 41,000 is 2,050. Okay, now the reason that we have the average class price is it's like a sanity check. It's to make sure that we're not like too far outside of either area. Okay, so if they were going to train twice a week, let's say my daughter wanted to go swimming twice a week, I'd pay £15 a class. Over the course of the year, that is going to work out to be $15.60. Okay, so this is a little bit higher. If I wanted to do 3 times a week, it's going to be $23.40. So that value of 2.5 for someone for like a martial arts membership, or sorry, 2,050 is kind of in the middle, which gives me a good idea that that's approximately right for my area. So it's just a way of kind of testing this model and making sure that it's accurate. Now, what we're going to do is we talked about how we're going to structure this when you come to present it. If we take a year, right, let's say that we want to take 48 months. You could do this with 48. I've done it actually with 10 months out of the year. So what I've done is I've taken this value and I've divided it by 12 and then times it by 10. That gives me the yearly value of my school, right? That's what the program is worth. Per year, my membership or my unlimited membership in this location could be £1,708. Okay, does that make sense? So we've taken this value, we've said, you know what, we're going to work out a yearly value of what I feel comfortable in my classes, and I'm going to divide that by 12 and times it by 10. Okay, the reason is because we want to offer a weekly or a monthly as an alternative as well, and we want that to be slightly higher to account for people skipping out. Like, we want to reward people for paying up front, essentially. So 1708, which works out to be about, you can see that I've taken this number up here, sorry, where has it gone? We've taken this number and divided it by 12. Okay, so we've taken the 2,050 divided by 12, which gives £171 a month from a maximum membership. And then weekly, it works out to be about £39 a month. Okay, so these are the kind of, this is the maximum membership that I could comfortably sell in my area. I might be able to go higher. In fact, in my area, there is a dance school that charges around about £600 a month, which sounds crazy, but they are making it work. So there are definitely outliers on this, but that is the maximum that I can sell. This obviously depends on your level of service, quality of your academy, all of those other things. It has to be, you know, pretty representative when you're doing it. But for a lot of instructors, that's relatively easy to do. So this gives me kind of the maxes. So now if we go over to this area, this is the new area, this is adjusted area. So what I want to do is when I present my prices to people, I want to give them, I want to, you know, make them kind of easily digestible. So where they can, like 17, whatever I said over here, 1708 seems a bit weird, but you know, 16.99 for the year, okay, I kind of understand that. That's a price that you often see. Okay, that works out because we've done the same calculation of dividing it by 10. Essentially, it gives me 169, and then this is £39 a month because that's basically what was over there. Both of these values are going to work out to be approximately that £2,000 a year. Slightly less for one of them, in fact, slightly less for both of them, I think, but that gives me a good indication. The other thing that I want you to notice is if I say these three numbers, if I say it's, you know, 1,699 a year, or £169 a month, or £39 a week. Suddenly that £39 a week seems very, very cheap because all the person looks at is that first value. They don't look at the total cost of it. Okay, so that's where price anchoring becomes important. We've taken this £16.99 and we've dropped it down to £39 a month. So here we have the two options that we can work with, or if you want to do a monthly, you've got that third option there as well. I will jump onto this over in there in a second because I don't want to rush through. So then what you want to do is you want to decide what your membership options want to be. So I've created this little X section over here. We know that the maximum that we can charge based on our kind of calculations and our figures is £16.99. Okay, £16.99, £169 a month, or £39 a month. If I go above that, then the model breaks down. I won't get people onto that, and this is what I really want people onto it. Okay, so working kind of backwards from my most expensive, and I want to put some other numbers in there that kind of seem to work quite well for me. So the next number I put in was this twice a week. So for my unlimited, my max is based on 5 classes a week. So 5 classes a week at 39 is like £8 a class. That's actually pretty decent value. Okay, 2 classes a week is at £15 a class. And these are like the yearly values that we've included in here. And then I needed to fill some others out if I wanted to. I wouldn't necessarily do that. In fact, in my school at the moment, we only have 2 options. We actually have 3 options. We have a twice a week, an unlimited, and we have a session card for anybody who wants to do, drop in, drop out, or do a once a week membership. And the session card is set up at a higher rate, closer to this, like the maximum that we have over here. Okay, so that's the options that we have over here. So this gives us some kind of idea, and you can see the approximate value of what that works out to be per year. You could adjust these down if you wanted to. So you might want to take this down to, let's say it's like $6.99, and then this one might be like $12.59. This one might be like $13.99. Again, you can play around with the numbers so that they get like a ring to them, so that they get like, they sound like a logical number to be working with. I also wanted to highlight this as well, because when you put the numbers together like this, as 39 being the most expensive and 17 being the cheapest, it makes 39 look expensive, because you have that price anchor that £17 over here is like, that's what our initial thing is. So if I'm going to present this to someone, I don't want to necessarily show them this 17. I want to be more thinking about just, this is 39 quid. Or that works out to be about £8 a class for most people, because then you've got an anchor across this way. So price anchoring is super important and super powerful. Let's see what that does to our memberships. So like I said, in my school, these are options. I would not necessarily say you should have this many options for people. I would have either 2, at the most 3, okay? And if I took away, let's say I took away, I'm going to press delete because it's my form and I can delete all of this. If I took away these 2, and these are the only options that you get presented with at the start, it could be, right, we have 2 different programs. Twice a week is £29, or training twice a week is £29 a week, or you can train unlimited for £39 a week. That's it. Makes it very, very simple for people to understand, versus going in and being like, okay, you can train once a week for £17 a week, you can train twice a week for £29, and you see how it gets more complicated. So you want to simplify it down, and you also want to use your pricing as a way to get them onto the membership that you want them to be on. I want people to be training as much as I possibly can. Okay, so I want this one to seem like the best value. The easiest way for me to do that is by just offering a twice a week membership for people who are kind of like dipping their toes in, and an unlimited membership at something like this. Okay, so what does that mean? So with our fictitious school over here of 100 members, the £100 a month, and they were making 10 grand, by adjusting the pricing, charging a fair market rate that's not based on my feels, it's based on some market research, some basic maths, it jumps my potential income up to 16,900. I've not done anything else except just change my prices a little bit in accordance with my area. Okay, this is what we're trying to get to, right? We want to be in accordance with the area because we know that's what the area can tolerate. We see it all around us. We just have to match our service level up to that again. The other thing that I've added in here is the number of memberships so this one is calculated on this value of 39, right? So I've assumed that all of these 100 members are on the 39 quid a week package. Okay, probably won't happen. The reason that I added this 59 in here is because it's a really common question that people ask. If I was going to change my membership today and I wanted to put all of my members on this, how many could I lose and still make the same as I was making? In this scenario, I could make, if out of the 100 people I had, I could lose 41 or I could retain 59 and still be making my 10K. Okay, that's powerful. That means that if you do want to increase your memberships and just change everybody, which isn't something I'd necessarily say that is a good idea, that's your limit, right? As long as you keep 59 of those members, you're still in the same situation, but then every member who comes in is now paying that fair market price. Okay, so that's one really, really powerful thing that I wanted to highlight in it and why I added this little thing here. So at this current price, the more expensive price, even though it's like, you know, visually it works out to be, let's say this is 40, so okay, it's 160 quid versus 100, you are just generating much more income from that. That means you can do more for your students, means you can grow your school more, it means you can have a better facility, it means that you can, you know, invest in instructors, you can do so much if you just have more income and more cash going into your school. Very, very powerful. So that's why I wanted to really include that one. So the other thing that I thought I would show you as well is a sanity test. Okay, so a sanity test is where I take these figures and I look at different areas to kind of, like we did before with the average, with this twice a week and 3 times a week, is just to look at like other situations. Like what prices can I charge? The one that jumped into my brain was AOJ. Okay, now the reason I chose AOJ is it's actually in a similar area to me, but, or like in terms of like demographically, it's quite similar. But they also list their prices, they have a great facility, a really good service, they're well known, they put their prices online, and often people look at those prices and go, man, that's a really high price to be paying. Okay, so the average income. Oh, the other thing I'd say is don't worry about this being in pounds. It makes zero difference. It's just a currency marker. So average income in Newport Beach, which is where AOJ is $82,000 a year. This is the average, okay? And then I did a little bit of research, and I think it was $30 per class was kind of the average thing. I looked at some dance schools and I found their values. Some were up at 50, some were a little bit lower at like 20, but that was kind of the average. And I know because I spent a lot of time in Newport Beach that you were paying, like if I wanted to go to a gymnastics club, it might be $20 to go in there and use it or whatever. So that means that the max yearly membership fee that they could charge is £4,100. Now, if you go on AOJ's website right now, which is what we in May 2025, I think they're charging $3,500 a year, something around that, for their yearly package. Okay, and if you look at it, again, it's slap bang in between these two numbers. Okay, so when we transition this across over to that gives me a good indication that they can hold that value, and this model holds up as well. Like I think last time I spoke to them, they had like 1,200 members training, so very popular school. Obviously, they've got a lot of marketing and stuff goes behind, a lot of legitimacy, but it gives you an indication of what you can be charging. And you can run this across anybody. You can look at anybody in the world and just be like, these are the prices that I want to be charging, okay? Or see if they're a kind of a good match, or if they're too low or too high. So that is the value of this thing. Hopefully you found this beneficial, and hopefully it's now given you a way that you can start to price your memberships accurately. Okay, there's a lot more that goes into it, and obviously you have to, number one, make sure that your classes match that value. Okay, so the level of service that you're putting into your academy matches the amount you're charging from it. Okay, that's really, really important. You can't just charge more and not have a great service. People won't stick for that. But if you have a great service, you can charge more. And the other thing is you might want to consider the way that you go about presenting it. There's lots more that goes into that as well. And if you want to revalue your schools, there's a lot more that goes, revalue your current members, there's a lot more that goes into that as well. But anyway, hopefully this gives you a better understanding of how to start pricing your classes, and gives you at least a starting point and at least some kind of a sanity check where you can just be like, hey, this is this is the max that I can charge for my classes. How am I going to get there? What do I need to do in my academy to grow, to improve it? So if you have any questions, please hit me up, Tom at escapologybjj.com. Other than that, I hope you found this training useful.